downstairs, one of Jack's buggies. Yeah, this is a very special buggy, isn't it? It's that high-top buggy. So tell us a quick story behind that, Jack, because obviously, well, Bruce, so yeah, the story behind that, that would have been presumably hand-laid?
Yes, the very first car was all red, and it was a car that was made more like a boat than it was a car. It was a tub. The fenders give it stiffness along the edges, and the bottom of it has a steel and glassed in with heavy material called roving, big ropes, and it's very strong and quite thick, big 18 inches. And those cars were made after I'd been a boat builder for many years. I guess I worked like I was still building boats, but they had wheels on them. And at the end of about a year, I was starting to understand that I was being very redundant. I was wasting your time and your money when you really wanted a lot of things that I was having to do for. You had to make the pedal adjustments and all the gizmos, the whole handbrake and the gear shift and all these things. And here I was making things that were already on the chassis that was leaning against the wall in my shop. And I started taking the chassis had all these things that people wanted, so I just decided to cut the whole thing up and stop making them that way. And the 13th Meyers Max was the first 4-pan buggy in the world. Fiberglass bodied 4-pan buggy. What?
You're supposed to be talking about it.
No, about the yeah, about the
Well, okay, the monocoques, which is what you're talking about, were the first 12 buggies. They were made more like a boat than a car.
Do you know of any others that exist? Yeah, how many survive? 7.
No, there may be still 5
So
more.
there could be somebody bombing around Guam, heading down to the beach, and a fiberglass buggy. I don't even know as important it is. Yeah, and the wonderful thing is that out of those 12, if 7 of them survive, that's 50 years. That's an incredible statistic, really. It shows the job as well.
I think we know where there might be another one. And if we tell anybody about it, there'll be a rush to go get it.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. This group would never see it probably about 30 seconds. No, so, any other questions, guys?
Was the wheelbase dictated to by aesthetics, shell, shape?
Was the wheelbase dictated by the aesthetics? Was it you said earlier on it was a great wheelbase for off-road?
I would say in the beginning, a 75 or 80-inch wheelbase was roughly where those few of the new buggies we had. So I made the first red old car 78 inches, and it was good. It worked very well because you're getting rid of all the live ballast of the people in the back seat, and you're bringing the people in the front seat closer to the engine transmission, so you put all the weight over the rear wheels. Then you enlarge the rear wheels to get more traction and flotation. But that all worked great. But when I changed it to the floor pan car, you can't take an ice cream cone and section it. Anything that tapers, if you cut a section out of it, it won't fit, right? Well, taking the floor pan tunnel, it comes along and goes past the seats, and there's seat tracks there. There's 2 over here and 2 over there. And you get back to this point where it starts to swell out and become a conical shape. That's where you have to stop. And you cut it there. And you go up to the seat tracks. See how technical it is? The seat tracks draw a straight line over the tunnel, and you go back 14 inches, and you come to this. Suddenly the tunnel's getting bigger. So you can't go any farther because it won't fit if you cut it apart.
14
So
and
that's
a
the
quarter
only
inches.
reason. Excuse me.
14 and a quarter inches.
14 and a quarter inches is very important.
That turned out to be 14 or 14 inches. Anyway, that's
both sides.
See how technical it is?
Yeah.
It's all about how you can section something that'll fit when you cut it apart and put it back together again. That's all it is.
There you go. Cool. Anyone else?
That turned out to be an 80-inch wheelbase.
What sort of wheels did you originally use on you?
What sort of wheels did you originally use?
Well, we took Volkswagen centers, and I went to the Volkswagen dealers and I gathered all the bent wheels that they threw out in the junk. And I put a spindle on the end, a front spindle on the end of the solvers, and a torch. And I cut the rim off and threw it away. And I took other rims from other wheels, larger, wider, 7 to 8-inch rims, and stuck them together with stick welding. Really, it's dumb stuff, but it worked. And if you spin it, you just tack it a couple of places and spin it. If it bumps up and down, you undo the tacks. You keep tacking until you get it so it rolls without more than about an eighth of an inch of wobble. That's how technical I am.
Engineering time.
And then there was a guy that built a buddy called the Burrow, a very dear guy. And he, every time he finished a burrow, he said, I'm about to finish a burrow, let's come over to his shop and drink beer. And we're going to get him to sit on the bench with beer. And he's going to wire the car, and he wires the car. And we're watching for the smoke test. Because if there's any smoke that comes out somewhere, there's something wrong. So,
you can't get it back in either, can you?
Nah,
but this was
spills out all over the place. Yeah.
This is the same guy that he had a great big lathe, and he turned the rims off of those Volkswagen Centers and welded rims on the lathe. So he started making wheels for Meyers Max. When you sell 25 kits a day, you need a lot of wheels. And we bought pallets and pallets of wheels from him, and he made them that way. And of course, you know, the wheel business was started with all of that. That whole thing of the wheel is pretty ancient, but it's amazing what you can do with a torch and a simple cutting and re-welding other parts together.
I think you're forgetting one of the most important items in that process there, which is you. Because you go to the torch and you go to, you are the start point. And so, guys, if you've got any more questions, obviously Bruce has been talking to a lot of people. We want to make sure that he does actually enjoy the process. So I'm sort of, quite wary of the fact that he probably needs a bottle of water or something like that. So if we've got any more questions, any more points?
I'll just ask one question. What's your personal preference? Long wheelbase or short wheelbase?
What's your personal preference? Long or short wheelbase?
From an
Depending on what you want to do with it. If you want to go off-road, the short wheelbase is better, because it has more belly clearance. When it's shorter, it's stronger. You know, a beam, the longer it is, the weaker it gets. So when you shorten things, it becomes stiffer. So it also becomes shorter turning radius, belly clearance, climbing over things, a log, and you move the people back to the rear end so that you have now more traction. When you take a Volkswagen pan and not shorten it, like the Mexter, they're great. They'll do most anything that you want to do off-road, but they won't quite do what the little short car will do. Because the short car has a little more traction, a little more weight, and it's lighter. So you get a lot of things out of shortening. You get the car's lighter, but the piece of metal you got rid of was 50, 60 pounds. It has better belly clearance, shorter turning radius, it's stronger, it has more traction. All that just from shortening it.
I think we're kind of erring on the side of short wheelbase there. Because we have actually got a long wheelbase Plankster downstairs being built right now, but I think we're probably going to go short wheelbase there.
Well, people aren't using them off-road like they were intended in this part of the world. They are called beach buggies. You don't have much problem driving around the beach.
Yeah. Well,
you took Manchester to Pikes Peak and did very well there. You think you'd ever take one back?
you took a Manx to Pikes Peak and you did really well. Do you think you'd ever go back with one?
I didn't personally, but my friends took two Maxes with Corvair motors. They had been autocrossing, parking lot racing around pylons on Saturdays and Sundays. They did that for 3 years and they won everything. They knocked everybody off, all the Cobras and the Corvettes and all of the Eggs. There was nothing you could do to reach these little cars because they only weighed 1,200 pounds. And they're so quick because it's hard to break the rear wheels loose when you pop the clutch. Because the engine's back there and you just suddenly have a lot of bite and you take off, you're just instantly out of the hole. So it's really hard to smoke the tires on a buggy, but on paper. And so the cars instantly turned when they directed the steering wheel. So the other drivers, they got used to these two guys just winning everything, everywhere they went. And they said, "Would you let me drive it?" Now these are good drivers. And they got in the buggy, and you know what they did? They always, they had cones. They knocked down all the cones on the inside. That's because they expected to drift, but they didn't. So when you drift, you get rid of the cones on the outside of the car, but never on the inside. But these guys expected to drift, but all they did was knock down all the cones because the car just instantly went around where it's supposed to go. All right, after 3 years of that, sending all of the eights home, they went to Pikes Peak. And they said, "What are you going to do with that thing? It doesn't even have an engine cover. You can't fit the rules. What do you need to have an an engine cover. Well, that's in the rule book. What kind of an engine cover? It has to be a metal engine cover, okay? So they went to the motorhome and they took out some tinfoil, coat hangers out of the house. They made an engine cover, which passed the rules, which blew off at the first turn. The little cars went up the hill so fast, they didn't know what to do with them, because they put them in the under 3-liter class with Triumph Spitfires and such, MGs. And they went faster than all the big V8s and the Cobras and the Corvettes and everything, and open wheel cars. And they got to the top of the hill, and the best of the two cars quit because the wire fell off. And the guy got out and walked. And he got out and says, "You shouldn't be here." "Well, my wire fell off." "Well, why don't you send the other car up?" The guy that's just a mechanic in the second car that isn't as quick. And he came up there and broke all records. They beat all the open wheel cars, except for, I think, 3-wheel cars. 3 of the open wheel cars. They were so fast that they got everybody at Pikes Peak got all upset and threw them out. "Don't come back!" There wasn't any more new buggies at Pikes Peak for 4 or 5 years.
So what I'm getting from that is, it was amazing, and it's not to know that he's not going back. So watch out for Pikes Peak.
I think we ought to have a campaign again.
I think we should have a campaign to get you up the Goodwood Hill here in England as well. I mean, Pikes Peak, for those guys who don't know, it's 12,000 feet over sea level, up to this incredible height in these mountains, a massive change in terrain, so really such a feat back in the day. And
listen, Don Wilcox, who was the great driver that did that stuff, he's still alive. That car still exists.
he still has the car.
Yeah.
Get it to the Goodwood, yeah. Well, I'll get the Volksworld rounds. I'll get down the event officer of all that stuff.
Don Wilcox was an amazing driver. Other people brought their Volvo two-door sedan. "I can't qualify my car. Don, would you do it for me?" "Yeah." He's never been in a Volvo two-door sedan. He goes, qualifies it, hands it back to him. And now the guy can race.
There's so much, when you spend some time on the beach, you realise there's so much to other cars that you don't really need as well. So I think you really did strip out. I mean, guys, I'm really keen to make sure that we do build some breaks today. So we're kind of done that. I think we should probably wrap it up and let the next guys get on and talk about whatever it is that kind of other stuff. Yeah. But is there any other last questions? Any final questions? No? Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Bruce, having you here for the weekend as
I
well.
like the idea of getting Don Wilcox to go up Goodwood Hill.
Yeah, let's make that happen. You know Don, we know Goodwood, let's all get along. Let's get the money. Let's make it happen. See you guys.